Hello, I'm Dr. Christine Bowen,
And I'm Em Bowen.
and we are Immune Recovery. And today we're going to be talking about harm reduction while in Disneyland. Stay tuned. So, Em, we were just recently in Disneyland with our whole family. That
Yep,
was
we
it
have
was
an
a lot.
annual trip that we often take. Um, and we put our heads together about how we could have fun and still keep an eye on our autoimmunity and not create any more dramatic flares than possible.
Yeah, harm reduction is what we call it. It's very hard to avoid absolutely all of the things that you know may flare your autoimmune condition, and then also the sheer quantity of wear and tear on our bodies is enough to make our bodies hurt while we're in Disneyland. So it was important for us to try to decrease the inflammation as much as we could. So let's talk about the different things that we did while we were there. So one of the things that past years, one of the few things that we could always have was a turkey leg, right? So here's a picture of us eating turkey legs. So those smoked turkey legs are one of the few choices that we've had in the past before Disneyland started offering some more choices. Em, what's your favorite thing that we have that's less harmful or more allergen friendly?
Well, I think, one of the big things for me is avoiding gluten. I just know that it's gonna knock me into a multi-day kind of pain spiral. And so really one of my favorite things now, and hopefully we have an image to share of it, is the gluten-free Mickey waffles. We got those a
Mm.
little later in our trip at one of the restaurants at the Grand Californian. We got that at Storytellers Cafe, but they're available in a few other places on the property. And just to be able to have waffles for breakfast is really a treat, and it's nice to know that they've been very careful enough that somebody with celiac could eat those waffles. That's a big deal for me, is to feel like I'm a kid and feel like I'm eating things that are a treat. But again, knowing that I'm not sending myself into that kind of harm or that kind of pain that would normally result from not eating consciously.
And that those waffles, they were not only gluten free, right, but also vegan. So no eggs, no dairy. And sometimes we're like, "Ugh, at least it's gluten free, but yeah, there might be a little egg or dairy, and that's going to make me feel not so great." They tasted a lot like tapioca flour was in them
Yeah,
or something. It seemed like
yeah.
tapioca flour was one of the ingredients, and I do enjoy that. I feel like it has more of a gluteny sort of texture than a lot of the other flours. So that was delicious. I was thinking about, so they have all of these holiday booths. They call them the holiday duets, I believe. And they have drinks and different food choices at each of these little stands. And this is in California Adventure. And there was one that we were so excited because our little brother has a dairy allergy, and anybody who knows him knows that he has a love of cheese that is maybe more than life itself. Like that that cheese and dairy has been something that he has loved for years. So in finding out that he has this dairy allergy in the last couple of years, we can see that he's just miserable, feeling left out, and he doesn't get to have the things that he wants to have. So he got to have the waffles, knowing that the waffles were also dairy free, those Mickey shaped waffles. But then also, we found this place that had impossible uh, chorizo
Chorizo.
fundido. Yeah, I mean, granted, lots and lots of heartburn happened from that, but just he was so excited to be able to know that this was, cheesy and that it was like the runny cheese nachos of our youth, and that he got to have it and it was dairy free. I just was so excited for him in that moment. But even though it was gluten free, I felt like it maybe wasn't the best for my digestive health. But anyway, it was delicious while it went down. So that was one. But then, so there's an allergen list that each of these little booths have, and
Right.
it's a laminated menu, and then it has allergen. And I will include the photos of it as well, because I took pictures of it. They wouldn't let you take it with, and they didn't have printable versions. That would definitely have made our lives easier to not have to keep asking for it or trying to see the tiny, tiny writing on my phone. But they had like a full page for what it was gluten free, full page for what was dairy free, full page for shellfish allergy, full
Nut
page for tree
allergy.
allergy. Yeah, exactly. So I just thought that was mindful that they just have more of these, um, at least they have the information to educate their servers, and then also to be able to educate the public about which things might not make you sick. So I thought that was pretty impressive. And then
Yeah, we went to the one of the restaurants in the Disneyland hotel, and they also had an allergy menu, so you could see the same major allergens, what fell into and outside of it. And even with that, like there was one item that was totally gluten free, but it wasn't really what I was craving. And I
mhm,
was able to order one of the other dishes, and they modified it so that it would be gluten free because they have an awareness. Um, I experience this more in Europe. I've talked to people who've experienced this more in Europe, but in the Disneyland properties or the Disney properties, they have an awareness of how their food is prepared and can talk to people about that. And a lot of restaurants in the United States haven't quite gotten to that space where there's an awareness, a way to enter the conversation. So just knowing if things are cooked in a shared fryer,
mhm.
you know, if you've got something that's got breading on it going into the same fryer as your fries, having folks that know that, or, you know, cooked on the same griddle or toasted in the same toaster, that kind of thing. Because again, those of us with gluten sensitivities and then with, you know, allergies like celiacs, we kind of need to know, again, for harm reduction, what level of exposure, cross contamination might happen. And I found everybody was not only well educated, but happy to talk about it.
Mhm.
Whereas I think a lot of us have kind of been made to feel like we're being difficult when we ask for some accommodation. And
Absolutely.
there, it's really a vibe of, you know, of course, we want you to be having a magical time.
Yeah.
And your magical time is you eating the food that doesn't cause you harm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so that was fun when we were sitting at Trader Sam's, and we had asked about the allergen menu, and I ended up playing with fire a little bit by getting fries that were cooked in shared oil with gluten, but that we had gluten-free burgers, and you can have it with without dairy, and then our little brother was able to find something that was dairy free as well, and while we were sitting there and we were all chatting, there was a person who was next to us and was asking us about our food sensitivities or our allergies. And so we just started chatting a little bit, and we found out that this person does this for a living, helps people to avoid allergens at Disney resorts, and then also the parks, and then also on cruises. And so, Em, did you want to give a shout out?
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to Pixie Lizzy. We'll include her contact information, but she works as a travel agent helping people with food sensitivities, which we have a lot of overlap as we've examined how nutrition choices and food choices can affect our inflammation with populations that have allergies. So we'd love for you if you're planning on, uh, creating a family vacation or some sort of excursion, but you want to do it safely, contacting Pixie Lizzy to help you plan your trip around your sensitivities, things that cause flares for you. Same for like your children.
Mhm.
Um, we're discovering, there's a lot of kids who are sensitive to certain foods, but you still want to be able to take them places. We don't want the world to be closed down to us because we need some accommodation so that we can feel healthy. So yeah, we'll you should find in the description um, Pixie Lizzie's information so that you can contact her for booking.
And Pixie Lizzy knows the chefs by name, is, grilling everybody in the kitchen about the details for how food is being prepared. And so this is something that is done on your behalf, making sure that then you are free to have more time for just enjoying yourself instead of, needing to have all of those, heart to heart conversations with your servers and such. So it's really nice to know that somebody is paying attention to that level of detail to keep you safe. And so shout out to Pixie Lizzy, and thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of the community of folks with allergies. And we hope to be able to connect more in the future. One thing that I loved, but that also gave me raging heartburn, was the Alien Pizza Planet gluten-free pizza. And so they have cheese and pepperoni. And so I do realize that nightshades give me heartburn. And so I typically will stay away from things like that much tomato sauce. But just having a gluten-free pizza felt pretty great at that moment. It seemed like a great idea, and it was tasty, pretty darn
Right.
tasty.
Right. It fueled our, walking and walking and walking and walking.
Oh, and that reminds me. So, one thing that you can do for saving time when you're ordering food that is using the Disneyland app, and then it has a mobile food order section. And then a lot of these choices are available. So, like the gluten free pizzas were something that you could order on. Not all of the allergen friendly food options were available on the mobile food app, but many were. And so, I loved being able to use that instead of waiting in a line to get into Alien Pizza Planet. You just walk up and when your order is ready, and then you go in and go to a window to get it.
Right. And you did the same, I think, with the Pim's Test Kitchen where we had really great gluten-free panini sandwiches. I haven't
That's
had a
right. I
panini
forgot
in
about that one.
forever.
Those were
That was
so good.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, those were so good. So that's another one too. And whenever something comes with an accommodation for allergies, they put a little like toothpick in it that says allergy on it. And so it's
Right.
like from the beginning of the order being placed to how it's handled. And that I had experienced this last year when we went to, there was a restaurant over by Soaring over, what was it,
Mm-hmm.
California at the time, or Soaring.
Right.
And that basically the chef came out and chatted with me
Right. And
first.
I've experienced that at a couple of the other restaurants, the nicer sit down restaurants, although that was more casual dining.
Hmm.
But to have people come out and check with you is really amazing. Yeah.
And the cherry on top of the gluten free foods that we enjoyed at California Adventure would be the awesome Incredi cookies, right? Or what are they
Oh,
called? Yeah,
yes.
they're the Incredi cookies, right? They're like a
They're called the
shortbread,
Incredi cookies. They are a sugar cookie with a blackberry jam filling.
and we have a
Uh,
picture here. Yeah.
yes. So good.
They were
So
so
good.
good. And I think that we went back for seconds because we were there for 5 days, right?
Yeah.
In the park for 5 days. And so I think we had seconds on that. And then we went and got them once. And then I do believe that we got them a second time as well.
I
I think you
believe
might
I
have even,
ate one when I got home.
I was
I
thinking
had
you
one in
even
my
went home with
bag.
one. That one was supposed to be for our other sibling, but I guess I guess we felt more strongly about it going home with you. So sorry, Sib. Uh, your cookies and M's tum.
Next year, I'll
We'll
get another
share
one next
next year.
year.
Yeah, it felt like we had so many more choices, and so even like some of the stands, you can
The
get
popcorn.
pickles, you can get fresh fruit. If you can have dairy, you can get Baby Bells. We enjoyed some unflavored Topo Chico sparkling water. I'm trying to think of some of the other things. Oh, the Dole Whip is dairy free. Uh,
Right.
it's not
So that's
pineapple free.
totally vegan. It's
You
not.
can't have it.
No. Well, that's my limitation. That's not
Hmm.
everybody's
No,
inflammatory. Plenty of people do well with pineapple, and they do have kind of tucked behind the tiki room um, in Adventureland. They do have an area that has some food items, but they also have cherry, mango, and raspberry flavors of Dole Whip for other people who might have a pineapple sensitivity
or
like
not
me.
like pineapple even. It's just like,
Right.
look, there are other choices. So
Exactly.
that's awesome. And then in years past, there were some skewers that we had had.
Yeah, Adventureland has like barbecue skewers. They do ones that are bacon wrapped asparagus. Those are really tasty.
I was just looking back to see if there's anything else that we wanted to share. So we got turkey leg, we got Incredi cookies, we got the those paninis from Pim's Test Kitchen. I definitely so that's in California Adventure, right?
Right.
Pim's Test Kitchen, yeah.
In Marvel Land.
And then let's see here. Yeah, I feel like those were some of the highlights, and it just felt like they're coming along. That before it felt like we had to use our own creativity to think about what it was that we could or couldn't eat, and that there wasn't really much to guide us. And so now there are things like other people posting. Hopefully, our posts will help somebody out there too. But other people posting about gluten-free items on the menus, where to find them, and then also, that Disneyland actually is publishing things to be able to help us have this information. Oh, this was one other one. Was this also Adventureland where our whole family was having shrimp po' boys and eating them in front of
Oh,
us?
yeah,
Right?
that's over by the Haunted Mansion on the pier there. We just went ahead and got
They were
the tuna
having lobster rolls
roll and
too. Yeah.
lobster rolls
Mhm.
without the roll, right? So just kind of a nice tuna salad, a nice lobster salad. So that was a treat because that was something that I had always just steered clear of because of the roll, but knowing that we could make it a light salad, um, that was a nice accommodation. Another thing that we did is we did have some drinks because it's holiday time and we're celebrating with the family. But we again looked at those allergy guides and made sure that there weren't any gluten containing ingredients. There was one drink that had like little mini churros served on top of it, and
Hmm.
we just got those on the side and gave them to Dad.
Yeah.
And he was very happy to have a little cup of mini churros, and we had a drink that we knew um, was safe in that way. So if you decide to indulge in alcoholic beverages, there were
They were
some.
all listed on the
Yeah,
menus
there were
too,
some
on
with
the allergen
there were
menus.
some
Yeah.
creamy ones like nog kind of drinks or chata kind of drinks that were actually dairy free. Um, so there's lots of choices. In the parks, they're not going to give you a highly alcoholic drink. My concern almost more with a flare is how high sugar some of their drinks
Mm.
are.
And they were very, very sweet. So
Yes.
if you wanted to stick with something like wine, then they're in California Adventure. They have a wine bar, or almost all of the hotels have a bar. You could have something that's more like a clear spirit with soda water, little little
Right,
sprays of
right.
citrus or something like
Spritzer,
that.
seltzer kind of thing.
Oh,
There
they
are
did
there
have those seltzers in a few places. If you tolerate those, then
yeah,
like hard seltzers can be much lower sugar. It just depends on whether or not you're sensitive to things like flavorings, right?
right. The only place that you can get alcoholic beverages in Disneyland is it Uga
Oh, the
over at
cantina.
Cantina in Star Wars Land. But like we've said, clearly there's lots of different little stands throughout California Adventure. There's beer, but there's also cider. There's wine. There's lots of choices. Sometimes we were using it a little bit as pain relief because we were, consistently walking about 1,500 or 15,000 steps a day. Um,
Yeah, we were 14 to 20. There was one day that was right up in the 20,000 step range. So these are marathons that we're walking over the period of this week, and it just hammered my body. I was in so much pain with my feet, like the inflammation in my feet, the inflammation in my back. So then if you are somebody who struggles with, being mobile and comfortable being mobile, then just knowing that there are a lot of companies that have scooter rentals. So if you haven't been to Disneyland, just and you don't want to, not have fun, and you feel like really forcing yourself to um, do this endurance walk might
right,
really
and a
take
lot
your
of standing in lines, right?
yeah, the standing is what hurts me the worst. It's almost like I'd rather just be walking and, you know, being in pain that way instead of like standing just felt like agony. Seems like maybe I'm just seeing more of them, but it seemed like there were more benches. They still
Yeah,
could use a lot more benches. It feels like there are times where you need to sit down, you look around, there's one bench, and there are two other people coming at the bench from opposite directions. It's like, yeah.
I think it's helpful to keep an eye out on which areas have the most benches because, if you do need to rest, then you should rest.
Mhm.
Another strategy I had was um, we had a hotel room with a bathtub whenever possible. A lot of hotels and motels are switching over to just showers, but being able to have a tub where you can soak your feet, soak your body. I like to use some topical CBD products in my bath so that gives me that reset to deal with some of the inflammation in my feet, in my back, and my hips. Um,
Oh yeah, your CBD lotion or an oil that you
yeah,
you you make that yourself, right?
yeah,
That
yes.
was such a gift, and I just basically like coated my legs and feet in it every morning where it was just like, okay, I'm sorry in advance. We're gonna make it
Right,
through. So
right.
thanks for that.
Well, yeah. So whatever your topical strategies are, ideally you're not taking a lot of anti-inflammatories that can affect your liver or your stomach. So I like to do the topicals this way because then I'm not concerned about that impact. Um, and remember that these other factors that cause flares are stress. So having a plan, having clear lines of communication, having um, a plan to keep your phone charged, so
Mhm.
you can keep in touch with the different family groups. That can be really important. But also having fun.
Yeah.
Like the more we were able to let go, my body is healthier when I am playful, lighthearted, not taking things too seriously. And so, again, I want to thank Disney for the work that they've done to decrease my stress levels and the ways that I get to have more fun wandering around the parks with my family by them just being willing to disclose and take responsibility for what they're feeding us and how it makes us feel.
They're more transparent than most of the labeling laws in our country, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we appreciated that so much. So, thank you to Disney. Thank you to, them for, they must have gotten feedback that they've really been acting on. They've just come so far in the
Well,
last several years,
so,
especially.
yeah. And it's so important for children, like we're
They,
big kids. We
yeah,
know we're big kids.
it's easier for
Um,
us to advocate for ourselves.
it's easy for us to advocate for ourselves. And one of the cool things with Disneyland that maybe not everybody knows is you can bring your own food into the parks. And so if you're at a place where you're like, I'm eating a really limited diet because I'm really healing my
That's a good
gut, I'm
point.
really working on that, like you can bring food in. Um, you can travel with food as long as it's not a bunch of liquid, right? But you could even travel with Tetra packs of bone broth or things that you can keep in a fridge in a motel room. So we want to kind of say, like, this is where we're at. We've been doing this kind of eating for several years
Like
now. And
2008 for me was when I
right,
really started that. But when I was a child, it was dairy and eggs. So,
right,
on and off for most of my life then. So this is something that we've had time to adapt to. But if this is
right.
new for you, hopefully some of these tips will help. And for some of my patients who are on limited diets or needing to do something nutritionally that basically requires that they bring their own food. You can write a prescription or have your physician write a prescription for you for carrying food, including liquids, on a plane. And so back when some of my
Oh,
patients were doing, 24-hour yogurt, they could bring a cooler with their 24-hour yogurt in it, regardless of the limitations of the liquid. And so having a physician's prescription can go a long way too if you feel like places are not as willing to give you accommodations.
that's a wonderful tip. I really appreciate that. And then one piece of harm reduction that we did consistently through the time there that I kind of forgot that I do want to mention, and we can give people some more information about where to look for these kinds of products. But when we know we're eating foods that either may have cross contamination or may have inflammatory ingredients that we know affect our bodies, because every body is different. It's not we do the thing and you should do the exact same thing. It's you knowing your body, you should
This is what works for us.
do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But when we eat foods out in spaces like this, we tend to take digestive enzymes, like a
Mm-hmm.
high quality digestive enzyme. That way, if it's dairy, there's going to be enzymes in there that are going to help break that down. If there's, uh, we happen to get something that's got a gluten cross contamination, um, then there's enzymes in there to help break that down, as well as both of us usually will take a bunch of quercetin, which is a natural antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, and I think it also helps with heart health.
Yeah, I think heart and blood vessel. Yeah, and I think that it is just because it's anti-inflammatory too. That's oftentimes the beginning of heart disease or blood vessel disease is
Mm,
inflammation creates an insult, and then beyond that is like kind of how your body adapts, and then it builds up plaques in the arteries. But yeah, quercetin I find is really great for allergies too, even if it's things like seasonal allergies. So
right.
yeah, it stabilizes mast cells. So mast cells are basically white blood cells that have histamine inside of it. And so basically they help them to not just break down and release all of the histamine, but being a little bit stronger. Yeah, I love that. That was something that you had implemented, was like, and a fistful of quercetin. And I was like, yep, I do not regret that. Well,
Absolutely.
it was
Absolutely.
wonderful.
And I don't know about you, but when I got home, I kind of detoxed. I went back closer to
Oh, yes.
my immune recovery, gut healing diet, just to kind of reset my body and apologize for maybe the amount of sugar or alcohol or
Yes.
dairy that I ingested while I was there. And again, it's not a none of these things are forever things. It's just finding the strategies that help you feel the best, that reduce the flares of your autoimmune condition, um, while not feeling overly stressed with complexity.
Yeah, we're 10 days post when we got back, and I'm just about now feeling like I'm turning the corner into feeling what I felt previous to leaving to Disneyland, which
Right.
was I was feeling pretty darn good. And it battered me a bit, but it was really fun. I had so much fun, and I hope that if you all go, that you have a great time too. Anything else that you wanted to share with the community today?
I think that's it.
It's
That
really,
covers.
yeah, it's really a fun conversation, and we hope that this is helpful for you, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time.
Please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we post new content.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook and other social media.